So as many of you will recall, I had absolutely no intention of getting Hubcap, the Generation Selects Hubcap, because I was quite happy with the Hot Soldiers version. But as it turned out, and as fate would have it, I ended up with Cliffjumper, who I heavily customized, and it only seemed right to kind of have this guy, sort of like, you know, his compadre, if you will, his partner, if you will. And then I found him for what is essentially a pretty great price. It was below regular retail, and that works for me. So I picked him up, and now we're going to take a look at him in the latest GotBot True review. Hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, and while you're at it, light them up, baby. And hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton. It lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, Transformers Collectors NL, The Autobot Family, Transformers vs. G.I. Joe vs. DC Universe vs. Marvel, and all of my social media links. They're down in the description below. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can check us out on Patreon. See what we offer to you through Teespring. Use the donate link. Or, of course, you can hit the join button right here on YouTube and become a channel member, baby. And this is the Generation Selects Hubcap. I was not really in for this guy, and there's things about him that I really like. There's things about him that I kind of wince a little bit over. There's nothing bad about him. And there's some stuff he does very successfully. A couple of changes I would have liked to see, but you know what? We'll discuss all of it, the good and the bad, when we head over to the table and take a closer look at this guy. So I originally had zero plans to get a hubcap. I mean, I already have a hubcap that I'm happy with, that being the Hot Soldiers lad, who we'll look at in just a little bit via way of comparison. But after I was gifted the toy hacks for Cliffjumper, and after I was gifted Cliffjumper, thank you again to Event Progenitor for the toy hacks, to Crimson Raptors for Cliffjumper himself, I, of course, done this entire evolution of Cliffjumper, and I happened to see in store for a good price hubcap, and I said, you know what, I'm down the Cliffjumper rabbit hole, man, I might as well get hubcap. And here he is, with all of his gear on him, but of course we're going to begin things with his packaging first. Easiest part of this is the packaging, because it's the boring and somewhat lame Selects packaging. When you see this packaging on shelf in a store, it's either stood up, at least around here, because both EB Games and Toys R Us carry Selects in store here in Canada. I find it so funny because either they're stood up like this so you have literally no idea one character from another, or they're laid on the side where you can see the name, which is great and a great way to do it, but like you can't see the character, all you can see is the name. So I guess you assume that it looks good, you've hopefully seen the pictures, whatever. I don't think that this is the most effective packaging, just saying. Then we have the instructions, but if you know Cliffjumper, then you know how this guy's gonna go. Fun fact, this one actually has no stats on it. It's so strange. Some of these characters have stats, even if it's in Cybertronian, and some don't. This guy doesn't. At least, not that I can see. And yes, indeed, this is the yellow minibot that's not Bumblebee, and we're starting him out in vehicle mode, because we've already looked at the transformation going from robot to vehicle. Now we're going to look at it going back the other way. If you kind of want to see what my thoughts were on Cliffjumper, you can go back to episode 675 where I initially reviewed him. It was not the most glowing thing in the world. And like I said, very recently we just did an evolution where I added some toy hacks to the guy and some custom paint. But this is the yellow version. The accessories that come with him are the exact same accessories that come with Cliffjumper, except where these things are silver with Cliffjumper, they're like a gray color here, a graphite type of color here, but it's the exact same thing. We have the skids, I guess, the skis up on the wheels, the other little pieces down underneath there pegged into really the two back sections here, and then these sections we have the handles pegged into little yellow tabs on the bottom of the door. The handles have a rectangular slot in them. It's easy to miss. When I first had Cliffjumper, I wasn't sure where to tab those things into on the side until I noticed that yes, in fact, there are peg holes there. So taking all of this off should be, yeah, pretty easy to do. And that is our basic car. But before we get to that, the accessories can go together to look like this. You could do something like this if you're so inclined, or you could even do something super wild like this, and like it can even angle up, you know? Anti-aircraft, cool, I guess. Now, shockingly, we have the Hot Soldiers version of Hubcap over here, super small in vehicle mode compared to this guy, and of course we have this guy over here. The first couple of things to note difference-wise. The color. The yellow on the Generation Selects is like a canary type of yellow rather than the kind of orangey yellow of the Hot Soldiers. The orangey yellow is arguably more accurate. Some might say the canary yellow is more accurate. I would say somewhere in between both of these is the most accurate. For the record, before we go on, if I didn't already mention it, I looked at the Hot Soldiers Hubcap and Cliffjumper in episode 675. By the way, if I didn't already mention it, I looked at the Hot Soldiers Hubcap and Cliffjumper in episode 678. So I looked at the Cliffjumper originally, I looked at Earthrise Cliffjumper originally in 675, I looked at the Hot Soldiers duo in 678. So yes, the first thing to note is that neither yellow is perfect. I would argue that this one is closer to the original, but like I said, that's open for debate. I'm going to say both of them are kind of a 9 in vehicle mode for what they are. The other thing, however, that is incorrect on the Selects is that we have the Autobot symbol here on the hood rather than up here on the top, which would be his chest. I put an Autobot symbol, I should say, up here on this guy. That would be correct. I don't see the point in putting one up here because taking it off of here would be more of a nuisance than it's worth for Hubcap, at least for me. So yes, we're going to say a 9 for each of them for different reasons in vehicle mode, but the robot mode will be kind of different when we get there. Now, just to reiterate something that I said with Cliffjumper, I don't get vibes from this guy of it being Hubcap, just like I didn't with Cliffjumper, because admittedly, the originals are kind of based on like penny racers, so they're like, they have weird proportions for the vehicle they're supposed to be, and apparently this is like what their actual kind of Porsche mode would sort of look like. Granted, there are, because I don't think this is licensed, I think like there's a couple of differences, like I think it has like a Mitsubishi front or something. Now before we jump into transformation, just one last thing I want to point out here, and this is why this guy gets a strong, I guess, score for his coloring in this mode. The yellow is the same throughout. I don't see variation like we saw with Titan's Return Bumblebee, or like it seems like we're going to see with the Earthrise Sunstreaker. This guy looks uniform, and I think that's good. I've heard that all of this is paint. If it is, cool. I don't know, I can't tell if it's all paint. Anyway, to do the transformation, we begin by picking up this back section. It is pegged into the hands, and I don't really have a nice way to explain to get that out. You just fiddle with it until it comes out. Of course, there's a, as everybody knows, I think, there's a black peg in there that can open up. This will become a shield, or it can go on his back, or whatever when the time comes. Okay, then we can pick this piece up. I think it's cool, by the way, that this whole piece can come up, and we should be able to, I think, pick the sides of the car off. I feel like we should be able to get the sides of the car off at this point. Maybe I could straighten these out to give myself a little more leverage here. Yeah, there, wow, that one was pegged in super duper tight. And over here, I should be able to do the same thing. There we go. And we split the legs, and we put in the tire, and we angle down the foot, and fold that in around the back. On this side, same thing. We fold in the tire, we angle down the foot, we fold that piece in around the back. We take this piece here, and we fold it up and close it down, and now the guy's doing some crazy kind of yoga. We take the body down. We bring these back. I guess we should kind of keep his chest open here. We bring these up and these up, his shoulders, and then we close the chest up. There's a couple of little nubs there. And then this comes all the way down. We rotate the waist around, and we can stand the guy up, but when I stand him up, he's definitely going to go out of frame, so we'll just readjust. Okay, so now that we've got this guy here, we bring the arm down, we rotate it at the bicep. Same here, we bring the arm down, and we rotate at the bicep. And while we're at it, why don't we use the peg hole here on his back, and we should be able to peg that on there. I mean, you can put it on his forearm or in his hand. I don't tend to do that. As a matter of fact, with his huge cannon thing, while that again can go on his forearm, I guess, or in his hand, I tend not to. I just tend to peg it on the back there, but in the end, boom, here we have Hubcap in his robot mode. Now, what can we say about the look and the paint apps in this mode for him? Well, they're a little bit less. By rights, the arm should be completely black. By rights, the Autobot symbol should be on the chest, and by rights, there should be a little piece up right here. Granted, you can get a 3D piece that fits on robot mode. Up there, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to get an exact yellow color match. Yellow's a hard color to work with, man. On the Selects, the entire face is orange. We don't have blue eyes. We don't even have gold eyes like this guy has. It's just a sea of orange on the face. The shoulders and the forearms are yellow. They should be black. And the Autobot symbol shouldn't be on his foot. It should be on his chest. I'm going to say that the Hot Soldiers version still sticks at a solid 9. For the look, maybe even a little bit higher. I'm going to say the Selects, where he had a 9 in vehicle mode, I'm going to say here, it's more like an 8. Like, you definitely know it's Hubcap, especially based on that head sculpt. But, and I do like that, by the way, the head and the forearms are definitely not painted. But the yellow still ties in with the painted yellow, like, seamlessly. So that's why he's getting an 8. So he was getting a 9. Overall, he's an 8.5. He's good, but he's not quite as accurate as he could and probably should be. The transformation, I'm still not a huge fan of. Honestly, I give it about a 7.5. Not even because of the parts forming. I just find, like, tabbing and untabbing the legs into the thighs on him and on Cliffjumper is a pain. It's a nuisance, I find. Even in vehicle mode, I find I cannot get the gaps in the panels to be seamless on either version of the mold. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I don't know, but I can never ever get it to work perfect on Hubcap or on Cliffjumper. I suspect it'll be the same thing with other uses of the mold. Like, it's close enough, it's good, but it's not quite perfect. There's that millimeter or two that I wish I could get, you know, ideal. So we have an 8.5, a 7.5. Overall, the guy currently is getting an 8. What about the articulation? Well, for the articulation, we have a head that can go left and right. It wiggles up and down, but not a lot of movement. The shoulder can go all the way around, out to the side a lot, which is nice. We have the elbow to 90 degrees, and it's on a hinge rather than a ball joint. I like that. We have bicep swivel. We have wrist swivel. All nice. We have a waist, very nice. We have legs all the way out to the side, forward all the way. They can, even though I have this back here, let's just take that out for the sake of articulation. We have legs that can go all the way back. We have a thigh swivel built inside the thigh. I love that. We have hinge knees to 90 degrees. I like that better than ball joints. We have super duper ankle tilts. I don't know if I missed anything. Thigh rotation, I think I said. The feet can't really go forward and back, but I think that's forgivable. Honestly, I think that's pretty forgivable. He was getting an 8. The articulation is easily a 10. I'm going to say overall this guy is a solid 9. It's a great use of the mold. I think that works, at least for the copies I've handled. I think the tolerances here work a little bit better than they do on Cliffjumper. And now I've handled 2 Cliffjumpers, the one that I reviewed and then the one that I now have myself that is a different one. The one I reviewed was on loan, the one that I now have myself that I've customized, and both Cliffjumpers seem to have the same tolerances, especially when it comes to this part being in the hands in vehicle mode. It's real tight, but here it comes out of at least one of the hands pretty easily, which kind of helps to remove it when you want to go to robot mode. And it just seemed fitting to show this trio. This, of course, is my custom Cliffjumper, who I looked at very recently. The Selects Hubcap, and that is the KBB version of Hornet's Agent. That KBB version I looked at in episode 681. It is a fantastic Bumblebee, and it is about half the price of the Selects Lad, so I really couldn't complain about it. I like that he's a different yellow than Hubcap, so all three of these kind of look unique in their own way, and I think that that is absolutely fantastic. And here we are once again, and here he is, and this is an interesting story. Here's the thing. I think the arms should have been completely black, and I think the Autobot symbol should have definitely been up on his chest. I can accept the Autobot symbol down on his foot because this guy is not major enough of a character for it to bother me. I can even kind of accept the yellow on his arms, not because it's accurate, because it's not, but because the match between the yellow paint and the actual yellow plastic is really excellent, so well done. It's a hard color to work with, and a lot of times they kind of miss the mark with it, but this one worked out really well. I do wish the eyes had a little bit of blue to them. That would be nice. It's good. It's as good as any of these. Like, the articulation is top notch. The look could be more accurate. The transformation, it is what it is. It's the same sort of transformation that we had with Cliffjumper, which I don't think is the strongest of transformations. The real strength here is definitely in the articulation. Am I going to bother to paint his arms and shoulders black? I don't think so. This is a character that never really appeared in the actual program, so I'm not as connected to him. If you, however, wanted to do your own custom, you wanted to make this guy as accurate as possible, I would get a toothpick, I would make his eyes blue, I would paint the shoulders and the lower arms black, put a little spray of clear coat over them, and I would probably work to get the tampoed Autobot symbol off of his foot, but in doing so you're probably going to take off what I believe to be yellow paint, and that would be a shame, though I think underneath it's probably just yellow plastic. But still, I think it would be a shame, especially on the hood, and you could put an Autobot symbol up here, or you could just leave the one on his hood, and or on his foot, in this case, and you could still put the Autobot symbol up there, but that might be overkill for some people. It's up to you. I'm fine with him the way he is, even though I do think he's a little bit stylized. And that canary yellow is pretty bright and pretty bold. Let me know what you think about this guy. Do you think Hubcap turned out well or not? I appreciate you guys coming by and giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you if you're in a position to help the channel to grow. You can use the donate link. You can check us out on Patreon to see what we offer to you through Teespring, or of course you can hit the join button right here on YouTube. Don't forget that somehow, some way, man, each and every single day, you do make a difference. And I look forward, baby, to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams, at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way, baby, right here inside the videos.